The Man Who Hated Homer, a Frank Grimes story inspired by Homer's enemy, told as a narrative. In a town as strange and unpredictable as Springfield, very few people could claim to be truly normal. But Frank Grimes, or as he insisted, Grimey, was a man who had worked all his life to achieve exactly that. Order, control, and success earned through sacrifice. And after decades of hardship, setbacks, and scraping his way up the professional ladder, Frank was finally given what he thought was a reward: a full-time position at the Springfield Nuclear Power Plant. It should have been a dream job, a stable income, benefits, respect. The culmination of everything he had worked for since childhood, when he survived a silo explosion, lived alone without family, and studied by candlelight in a crawl space. But then he met Homer Simpson. Frank first saw him when he walked into Sector 7G, ready to be introduced to his new co-workers. Mr. Burns had given a dry, empty welcome speech, and Smithers had pointed vaguely in the direction of Frank's new workstation. And there he was, Homer, sitting with his feet on the console, eating a powdered donut, watching a bird peck at a light switch. The room buzzed with alarms. Warning lights blinked like strobe lights at a party. But Homer didn't seem to notice or care. Frank blinked. "Excuse me. Is this Sector 7G? Homer looked up, powdered sugar dusting his shirt. "Yup, you must be the new guy. Welcome to the land of blinky things and snack time." He held out a jelly-covered hand. Frank didn't shake it. From that moment on, Frank Grimes' life began to unravel. He couldn't understand it. Here was Homer Simpson, a man who slept through safety briefings, mistook uranium rods for candy bars, and had once tried to microwave his tie. And yet he was not only employed, but praised. Homer had an office. He had a comfortable salary. He had friends, a wife, children, a house. He'd even been to space. Space. Frank Grimes had a bachelor's degree in nuclear physics. He'd worked his fingers to the bone just to survive. And yet he was stuck sitting next to this man, who seemed to fall upward through life with every step. Frank tried to stay professional. He corrected Homer's mistakes. He submitted reports. He followed protocols. But nothing mattered. Homer would forget to file anything, then spill grape soda on Frank's neatly typed memos. And still, nobody seemed to care. The worst part, everyone liked Homer. "Sure he's dumb," said Lenny one day, "but he's got a heart of gold." "Yeah," Carl added. "Plus he brings us cake sometimes." Frank twitched. Then came the day when Homer invited him over for dinner. Frank didn't want to go, but Marge was polite on the phone. Lisa had written him a poem. Bart had drawn a picture of Grimey eating spaghetti. It felt like an ambush of kindness. When he arrived, the Simpson household was chaos. Maggie was sticking things in the electrical sockets. Bart lit a napkin on fire and laughed. Homer was grilling indoors. And yet, the house was warm, loud, alive. Frank sat stiffly in a kitchen chair as Marge passed him meatloaf. "So, what do you think of Springfield?" she asked cheerfully. Frank forced a smile. "I think it's interesting." Homer leaned over with a mouthful of food. "Grimey, you should relax. You're going to give yourself a heart attack. Want to see my Emmy?" Frank blinked. "You have an Emmy?" "Yup, found it at a garage sale." Frank Grimes didn't remember the rest of the meal. His ears were ringing. His vision blurred slightly. Somewhere deep in his soul, something cracked. The next day at work, Homer burst into Frank's lab wearing a cape made of mop heads and declared himself Captain Safety. Frank snapped a pencil in half. He tried to complain to Mr. Burns, but Burns thought Frank was the janitor. He tried to report a safety violation, but the inspectors just nodded and asked Homer for autographs. Apparently they remembered him from the monorail disaster. Frank was invisible. Homer was immortal. He became obsessed. He followed Homer home. He watched his routines. He took notes. How could someone this incompetent function so well? He broke into Homer's personnel file. Illiterate until age 12. Repeated failures in all training courses. Reprimanded 314 times. Promoted 6. One day, he couldn't take it anymore. Frank marched into Sector 7G and slammed a thick binder onto the console. "You have to stop this madness," he shouted. "This man shouldn't be allowed to operate a stapler, let alone a nuclear reactor." Homer looked up from a game of tic-tac-toe he was playing with a pigeon. "Grimy, you're being kinda negative." "I've earned everything I've got," Frank snapped. "And you get trophies for drooling." Lenny stepped in. "Hey, leave Homer alone. He's a good guy." Frank's face turned red. "Oh, is he? Fine. You think being a total moron makes you lovable? I can do that too." He ripped off his tie and began mocking Homer, flailing his arms and slurring his words. "Look at me! I'm Homer Simpson! I don't need safety gloves. I put uranium in my lunchbox." He stormed into a restricted area, shouting, "I'm Homer! Look at me! I'm invincible!" And then, zzz-it. The shock was immediate. The electrical panel sparked. Frank Grimes was thrown back against the wall. Silence. When the smoke cleared, Frank was still. The next day, the plant held a small, awkward funeral. Mr. Burns gave a speech that confused Frank with someone named Fred Gribble. Smithers offered a forced eulogy. The workers muttered awkward condolences. Then Homer yawned and said, "Change the channel, Marge. I don't want to watch the sad guy show again." In the end, Frank Grimes got a footnote in Springfield's long history of weird deaths. But if you visit the plant late at night, they say you can still hear a voice whispering in the walls, "I'm Homer Simpson. I don't need safety gloves. Don't